Here are the remaining coaches in the playoffs. Andy Reid, play caller and a head coach. Dan Campbell, not a play caller. D'Amico Ryans, not an offensive play caller, defensive coach. Nick Sirianni, offensive coach, but not a play caller. Sean McDermott, defensive coach. Dan Quinn, defensive coach. John Harbaugh, not offense or defense, was a special teams coordinator, not a play caller. And then tonight it's Kevin O'Connell versus Sean McVay, both play callers. One of those guys will lose, so it'll be 2 offensive play callers and 6 non-offensive play callers. I just think that's interesting because from the Niners fans' perspective, Bill Walsh, Kyle Shanahan, I think they feel you have to be an offensive play caller to be a successful coach. You have to. Well, not necessarily.
I'm starting to change my opinion on this. I was actually thinking about this a few days ago. I've been watching these coaches, right? Like the coaches that are not calling plays are on offense are much more involved with everything that goes on during the game, right? They're not stuck in their play sheet. They're motivating guys. They're getting hyped up on the sidelines. They're coaching guys up throughout the game. Calling defense, I don't think is necessarily as involved or time consuming as calling offense. But in general, just like not calling at all would be good. I think what teams need now, before I used to say, hey, I don't want a non-offensive minded coach as the head coach because I don't want to switch your offense every time you get a new coordinator, every time one of your coordinator is hired out. But now it's like after 8 years of Kyle Shanahan, the same offense, it feels like it's kind of getting stale. And so it's almost an advantage to switch up your offense. It could be, depending on what coordinator you go to show people something new. But I think more than anything, the biggest part of this is having a head coach who is just a leader of men, a leader of his coaches, a leader of his players that can focus on managing the team and coaching guys up throughout the game. I think that's what we're seeing.
And what's interesting is so I asked Kyle Shanahan a few days ago about play calling. Are you going to continue to do it now that you're intending to elevate Klay Kubiak to the role, but they can't yet, but they will? Yeah. And he was like, yeah, I'm going to continue to do it. But really, it's a collaborative process anyway. It's not like I have the headset on and there's silence. You already have Klay Kubiak's voice in there. You got Brian Fleury's voice in there. You got Chris Forrester's voice in there. So it's the 4 of us having a conversation. And I'm the one who ultimately communicates to the quarterback. But he puts it like that. Like, I'm just the final voice. But any one of us could call the plays. All right, then we'll delegate it to Klay Kubiak. If it's like that, if it's a 4-way conversation and you'll be involved anyway, then let Klay actually be the voice talking to Brock so that you can have a bigger picture, a bigger lens during the games, like Dan Quinn, who's still coaching, Dan Campbell, who's still coaching. I'm just saying it might work for you.
Yeah, I don't think he would ever do that, but I do think that's the way to go, right? Like, I think he's a lot of fluff.
He said it himself, right? He's like, any of us could call it. All right, then why do you have to do it?
Right. Yeah. I mean, It makes sense the way you're explaining it. He'll never do it. He'll never give up that control that he has. That's his thing. He likes to do it. He'll never give up that control. He doesn't seem to delegate as well as I had hoped. Maybe does better behind the scenes delegating than I'm aware of. But from the fans' perspective, from my perspective, it doesn't seem like he likes doing that. He likes to micromanage a lot of things that he enjoys, right? Offensively, probably not on special teams, right? But he decides who plays on defense, and he likes to have a lot of control of things. So trying to strip him of that, I think he wouldn't be down for it.
I just think it's interesting. Like, look at the coaches who are still in, though. Okay, so Andy Reid, not necessarily high energy, but the best offensive play caller one of the best of all time, and he definitely has like a light humor that seems to get his players eager to play. They seem to like to play for him. Dan Campbell, ton of energy. D'Amico Ryans, ton of energy. Nick Sirianni has a lot of energy in his way, for sure. Sean McDermott, high energy. Dan Quinn, high freaking energy. John Harbaugh, high freaking energy. KOC and McVay all over the sideline, running up and around. Like, it seems like that is the trend. Whether you're calling plays or not, you can't just be stuck in your playbook. You have to have some motivational something there. Fred Warner talked about it on the TV this weekend, talking about D'Amico Ryans and what made him so special. He's like, name another coach who's running up and down the sidelines like him.
He
not yours.
Did he not say he's like one of the best leaders of men he's ever been around?
One of the truest leaders of men he's ever been around.
Which is interesting.
These guys are all leaders of men. All of them. All of them.
I think that's first and foremost, that's your job as a head. First and foremost, that's your job as a head coach. Mm-hmm. You are the leader of that organization. You're a leader of men. That's your number one responsibility. It's not play calling. It's not scripting for the game. That's not what it is. And if you go watch the practices, which you've watched plenty of practices, I've watched some practices, Kyle's not even involved in the practices until they're going through their offensive script. That's the only thing he's involved in. So to me, like, Kyle Shanahan is a good offensive coordinator, but as a head coach, he lacks quite a bit, in my opinion, and that's the problem.
And he's not a one of a kind. To me, there's a lot of Kyle Shanahans. There's a lot of offensive coordinators who've been over promoted or who are just not leaders of men. But there's all these guys who've learned these schemes because they're lucrative and they're smart. And so you have this whole workforce of really good offensive coordinators who shouldn't really be head coaches. And so you get a guy like Sean McDermott. He got Joe Brady as an offensive coordinator. That guy's good. And he may not be going anywhere anytime. He may just not be head coach material. You got Dan Quinn gets Cliff Kingsbury. I don't think we've seen Cliff Kingsbury as a head coach, not particularly a leader of men, but as an offensive coordinator, he looks damn good. And I think, Nick Sirianni has Kellen Moore as an offensive coordinator. Maybe he's pretty good with this offensive line, but as a head coach, I don't think so.
Right.
And we'll see about Ben Johnson.
Yeah. I mean, I was talking about it this weekend. I know people were ripping Mike Tomlin, and that's fair. He hasn't won a playoff game in a long time. But if Mike Tomlin was the 49ers head coach and Kyle Shanahan was the offensive coordinator, I think they would be a better team than they are right now. Because Mike Tomlin, his strength is he is a good leader of men. Now, he has the same problem Kyle Shanahan has had this entire time, which is finding an elite quarterback. And that's why they're always good, but not champions. Last time he was a champion, he had that elite quarterback. So I feel like that's where they struggle. And I do think one thing we've been talking about for years, the accountability factor. And you asked Kyle Shanahan to assess himself and you forced him into accountability. The reason why I always talk about that and people get mad like it's a dumb thing, that's one of the keys to being a leader. Going out there and falling on the sword for your guys. Hey, I messed this up. My guys did their best. I messed this up. I'm going to do better for them next week. That's why accountability is so important, and that's why it's irritating to see him refuse to take accountability on anything unless he's forced to. The one exception, the Trey Lance situation, and when you asked him. Those are the only two times I can remember in Kyle Shanahan's history as a head coach of him taking accountability. That speaks to his leadership abilities.
I feel like a team needs an emotional spark. I mean, the coach and I were talking about it a couple of days ago. You can call it what you want. Team needs a soul. Team needs emotion. It needs some type of an emotional, enthusiastic spark. And I think when they had Saleh and D'Amico on the team together, I mean, my God. But both of them are very similar. I don't know if Saleh learned it from D'Amico or D'Amico learned it from Saleh, but they both have this you have to physically hold me back from running on the field. I'm so excited. And I think Dan Campbell has a lot of that. Sirianni has a lot of that. Like, you want that from your coach. And the Niners had it. It wasn't their head coach. It was a defensive coordinator. Steve Wilks isn't exactly that way, but he does have a seriousness that I think rubbed off on his team. Nick Sorensen didn't have it at all. And the Niners are looking for it right now. They're hoping that Robert Saleh can bring it back to the team, but every team needs it. And the Niners used to have it from their coordinator. They lost it. And Kyle is always going to be searching for that. I don't even know if he's searching for it, but that's what he's searching for.
Would the Niners be better if they promoted D'Amico to head coach and just moved Kyle Shanahan offense coordinator? It's a hypothetical that would never happen, but would they be a better team?
Well, he wouldn't take. Well, here's the thing. He would never accept it. So here's a more realistic hypothetical. What if they had just traded Kyle and promoted D'Amico and went that way? What's harder to find? The really good play caller, the brain, the offensive play caller, or the soul of your team, the motivator?
Yeah.
What's harder to find? I don't know. You tell me.
I think
A
leadership,
true
like
leader of men, a guy that the entire team really respects and looks up to and plays for.
that's number one. And I put it out last year that I think D'Amico is one of the best head coaches in the NFL. I had him above Kyle Shanahan. Everyone ripped me for it, and people still might think that that's stupid to say. I'm looking at the leadership, like the head of the organization. How do they lead? And are they able to motivate their team? Are they able to get the players to buy in and trust them? Are they involved in everything? Like, are they someone I would like to play for? Who would you rather play for? I'm asking all the people in the chat, especially the Kyle guys. What kind of coach would you rather play for? Be real. Would you rather play for a Kyle Shanahan, or would you rather play for D'Amico Ryan?
No, look, don't ask it that way because Niner fans are going to be emotional there. Let's ask you from another direct. Who'd you rather play for? Dan Quinn or Matt LaFleur?
Yeah.
I'd rather play for Dan Quinn. That looks like a lot of fun. Matt LaFleur, he's having a freaking emotional breakdown on the sideline because he can't figure it out. And team's like, well, he doesn't have the answers today. I guess we're screwed because he's not going to like say something to us that makes us run through a brick wall for him. He either has the answers or he doesn't. And today he really freaking doesn't.
There's 3 coaches in the NFL, 4 maybe. Dan Campbell, Andy Reid, D'Amico Ryans, and Mike Tomlin. Those are the coaches. And I know people are down on Mike Tomlin because he keeps losing in the playoffs. I get it. But like, that is a personnel issue. That is a quarterback issue. Mike Tomlin is a great leader of men. I'm telling you right now, Kyle Shanahan would have less success as a head coach of that Steelers team than Mike Tomlin does. So he's elevating his team. I really believe that. Every year he's over 500. I 100% believe that. So for me, those are the kind of coaches I would like to play for.
Who'd you rather play for, Kyle or McVay?
McVay.
Why?
Just like his personality. I just like his personality more. Yeah.
He's more upbeat. He's more enthusiastic. Well, he is enthusiastic. Kyle isn't. He doesn't seem to play favorite. Well, maybe he plays favorites, but I don't know. I would rather play for McVay. And it seems like the way McVay grooms his coaches who become head coaches are to be high energy. Kevin O'Connell is high energy. Kyle is not. McDaniel is. I don't know what McDaniel is.
It's the reason I like Harbaugh more than Kyle Shanahan too. I just like his personality better. I don't like Kyle Shanahan's personality.